I'm Reverend Claire Maxim and I'm the Chief Executive of the Arthur Ranks Centre. Before I took that job, I spent 9 years as a full-time leader of rural churches, and I continue now to support local vicars in leading services of worship, just like I have done this morning. But my day job involves working with lay and ordained church leaders from right across the UK and of all denominations to make sure that they're resourced, that they're encouraged and they're enabled to do the very best work they can for their communities, bearing in mind that those communities are not only the Christians in their churches, but also all of the people who live in the places that they serve. Churches are one of the last remaining organisations in many rural areas. As we will explain, they've been instrumental in bringing together rural communities throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. There are well over 12,000 rural churches in the UK, each doing its best to support its local community. As for the Arthur Ranks Centre, in our staff team and on our trustee board, we have the National Rural Officers for the Church of England, for the Methodist Church, for the United Reformed Church, as well as a number of leaders from other church denominations and many lay church leaders as well. So everybody around us has lived experience of rural church leadership. And that's important because I'm here today to ask for your support. We want to do a complete review and evaluation of our two major training courses for church leaders. These are the Rural Ministry course and the Germinate Leadership Programme. We want to relaunch these courses for a new cohort of leaders to ensure that what we are giving them is relevant well beyond the COVID-19 crisis, equipping rural church leaders to support those diverse, vibrant, wonderful rural places where they serve. The impact of COVID-19 has just been unimaginably huge on rural churches, their people, their buildings and their communities. Many have said that because the buildings closed, the church was closed. That wasn't true in most rural places. Instead, what we saw was communities growing together, was people looking out for their neighbours, and in a place where it is reasonably easy to be known, new connections were forged as people stepped out in faith, driven by their desire to love their neighbour.
Like many other organisations, when the national lockdown hit in the middle of March, we spent quite a lot of time talking about how we wanted to respond. And one of the things that was really important to us right from the off was that the Arthur Ranks Centre didn't respond alone. We have connections with a number of rural specialists and organisations. And so we convened a conversation between those organisations and decided that together we would produce a weekly email containing a biblical reflection, a prayer and an opportunity for practical response in the community. It was a new way of working together for all of the organisations involved. There was a greater sense of shared purpose, and we had lots of conversations over the course of the last 6 months about how we might continue to work together beyond COVID. For all of us, it's been a very, very positive experience. And that positive experience hasn't just been from us, but actually the response that we've had from the people who've received the emails has been extraordinary. Many have said to us, your reflections and your prayers and your practical responses have helped me to make sense of what's going on, has helped me to navigate my own response and the response of my church to these unprecedented times that we find ourselves in. And many of them said that they were using the reflections that we'd produced in their own communications as they tried to help their church and their community make sense of the challenges that they were facing.
One of the things that we've been involved in at the Arthur Ranks Centre is some research in conjunction with Exeter University. And we're fascinated to see how much connection with a church has helped people when they felt lonely, when they felt isolated, particularly during times of lockdown. We know that church can reach people. We know the church network in rural places reaches into all corners of the community. we know that we can help people feel that they are part of that community. Whether they believe or not isn't the point. The point is to feel connected to their community.
When the pandemic hit, our church buildings had to close and our leaders had to develop new ways of reaching out to the people they serve. Many of them went online and they'd encourage people to use those skills. In doing so, many people who would never have considered trying to do things online with platforms such as Zoom learned how to use them. Church leaders helped to mentor many older people in their communities in how to use Zoom, which both enabled them to participate in events in the life of the community, but also enabled them to contact friends and family, for example. This was really important when there were periods of self-isolation or when people had to remain at home.
At the Arthur Rank Centre, we're passionate about resourcing, training and advocating for confident rural Christians and their communities.
Enabling rural Christians and their churches to have a positive impact on their communities is in our DNA. There are 2 leadership initiatives we run that have community engagement and transformation at their hearts. The Rural Ministry course is a 3-day course enabling those new to rural ministry to better understand the rural context in the UK and its challenges and opportunities. It brings together rural church leaders from across the UK and sometimes beyond in an environment that enables the sharing of stories and experience. For us, enabling people to come together and learn from one another is just as important as bringing together high quality speakers and contributors that people can learn from. The Rural Ministry course always creates space to think about individual contexts, to enable participants to think about the way in which their churches and their communities work together and might work together for the good of all. And the course includes an opportunity to hear from and talk to someone involved in agriculture, although of course agriculture is only one of a huge range of contexts that rural church leaders may be living and working in. Alongside the Rural Ministry course, we run Germinate Leadership. This is an 18-month programme that's designed to enable rural church leaders to develop their leadership skills. While there is some overlapping content with other Christian leadership programmes, it's rooted in the rural context and experience. These courses, as brilliant as they are, can always be better. And we are committed over the next few months to evaluating these programmes to ensure that they are doing what we want them to do, that at the heart they continue to have the transformation of communities rooted in them. We are committed to meeting real rather than perceived needs, and evaluating the Rural Ministry course and Germinate Leadership will help us to do that.
Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. If you'd like to know more about us, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We always love to talk to people. Want to support us? We'd be delighted. Many thanks and God bless.
Thank you very much for your time in considering this.
Thank you so much for considering our work. Please join us to impact the lives of those living, working and worshipping in rural communities. Thank you.